Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I'm coming back at you with another Black Powder Boot Camp. In this episode, we're going to be talking about commanders, some commander special abilities. Alright, so I just want to recap what we talked about in one of our earlier tutorial videos about command and control and how to issue orders before we get into the individual commanders. Commanders issue orders to their units in their brigade. So here's a brigade commander. We're going to treat this guy as a division general, and this is his brigade, on the table. He issues orders. Now you measure from his any general model, like from their head, the direct center. So it doesn't matter how you base them. You can base them on a circle, you can base them on a hex, you can base them on a square, or whatever. So because you're measuring from the general to any edge. So this guy obviously is within 12 inches. This is a 6-inch ruler. Obviously within 12 inches, no problem, right? So he's going to not get any minuses, because you would normally get a -1 for every 12 inches after the first. Generals have a staff rating. You can call it a command rating, you can call it their ability, you can call it whatever. And it's a number from 1 to 10. Usually nothing's lower than about a 5. But you can determine if he's a really bad general or if he's a really good general. If you look in any of the Warlord games scenarios that they've got out, their command books, their campaign books, or their scenarios in the back of the book, it'll tell you what the general's staff rating is. Okay, now what that number is the number you have to roll less than to accomplish what you're trying to do. So like, hypothetically, let's say I wanted this unit to move forward 3 times, and he had a staff rating of 8. I would say I want him. This general is commanding this unit to move forward 3 times, and then I would roll the die. And because I rolled a 6, which is only 2 less than 8, this unit would move twice, 2 times, not a full 3 times, because if you roll it 3 less or more, you get to move 3 times. 2 less, 2 times. 0 or 1 less than the number gets to move 1. And if you roll more than the number, he doesn't move at all. He ignores the order. He fails an order. And if a general fails an order, then he stops issuing orders. Okay, so he is done, right? If he failed. If he rolls boxcars, double 6s, then that unit that he issued his orders to blunders. Not only is that a blunder, but that also means it's a failure, and a failure also means he's done, right? So he's done issuing orders. What does that mean? Well, if he issues this guy an order, hypothetically, let's say, and he rolls boxcars, and this guy blunders and does his blunder thing, whatever it is, that's in another video, you can look that up, he's done. But that doesn't mean the brigade as a whole is done. It means that another commander that has seniority over this brigade can now issue orders. This division general has seniority over this brigade. It's part of his brigade. So he can now issue orders. Okay? But you want to save this general till last. Or you want to save your superior generals till last. And you can work your way up the chain. Okay, so because you could have... this black powder is not really geared for this, but you can have brigade commanders, then right above that, general division generals, and then right above that you might have a wing commander, and then right above that you might have an army commander. A lot like if you were trying to play out the entire Battle of Waterloo or something, because Ney would be like a wing commander, and Rial might be a corps commander, and then you go down. Alex might be a division general, and then it works its way down. Because once you give your subordinate or your superior an order, let's say this guy fails, and he's going to issue an order to this cannon to limber up. He says, okay, I need you to limber up and move up because you can't shoot from where you're at. So he rolls. If he fails, let's say he rolls an 11, he fails. Maybe he's got a higher command rating. Maybe it's a 9 because he's a really good commander, right? So even though he still failed, he didn't blunder, but he failed, so this guy is not able to get any more orders now either. but he's failed, which means every general in his unit failed. Yeah, let's say that this was one brigade, maybe these three were one brigade, and that was another brigade. And so he hasn't even rolled any orders yet, right? He rolls here, he blunders with this guy, the guy charges or something. That finishes his order giving, and then so he decides, hey, I'm issue this guy an order to limber up, move, and then unlimber. He rolls, he fails. Well, what that means is he fails for his whole division. So this general already had failed. This general also has failed, even though he hasn't even started issuing orders. Basically, that just ends the turn for that whole division. Okay, there's a couple of key words about giving orders. I just want to rehash them really quick. A unit can only be given one order. It can't be given orders from multiple directions. So let's say he issues an order here and he fails. He cannot jump in and say, hey, I'm going to issue you an order because he failed. No, this unit's done. He can only issue orders to other units as part of that never received an order. Commander has to issue orders until he's complete before you move on to another general. So you can't go, this guy issues an order, then he issues an order, then he issues an order, then he issues an order. No, it has to be, okay, I'm going to pick this general first. I'm going to do all of his orders. He issues, he issues, he issues. And then I jump to this general and he issues. All right, now we're going to talk about vulnerability to the generals. Generals cannot be shot at or attacked in hand-to-hand combat. They don't block line of sight. You can shoot or move right through them. If an enemy moves up through a general, what that does is something called displaces the general. The general has to take a move and attach himself to a friendly unit within his move range. If he is a foot general, 36 inches. If he's a mounted general, it's 48 inches. Like, let's say this is the enemy unit and it moves through him. He can just pick up and move 48 inches and attach to a unit. Okay, now what does that do? Well, it makes him become vulnerable, because generals are only vulnerable to attacks or shots if they're attached to a unit. And here's some rules about attaching. If a commander has joined a unit and that unit is subsequently destroyed, so is the general. You could think of it as he running off with them if they fled the battle, or you could say that he was shot as he was one of the casualties that caused the unit to break. If he joins a unit and that unit is shaken because it's taken it's sitting there shaken, then any more casualties that it takes, you roll a d6, and any sixes like that would mean the general is the casualty that it's taking. So he would die from that, in addition to the normal casualty you'd be taking. Now, a commander can voluntarily, he doesn't have to be displaced to join a unit. He can actually voluntarily join a unit, and there's a couple of reasons why you'd want to do that. Remember the rally order? Commanders are obliged to join units if they issue the follow me order or the rally order. Or if they're displaced by enemy movement. Another commander, like if it's a enemy commander and he moves through him, it does not displace him. Commanders don't displace, only formed units. And just because you're attached to your unit, if another enemy moves through him, just take him and reshuffle him and get him out of the way. Basically, he doesn't actually occupy any space. He's just being represented as being attached. So if you put him there, that doesn't make your line this long. Your line is still only this long. He's just there to represent that he is actually attached. And you could shuffle and move him around a little bit. So individual commanders cannot fight and they don't cause any casualties. But if a general is attached to a unit that is engaged in hand-to-hand combat, you get one extra attack die. You get one combat value. That is the standard. All generals add one, but if the scenario dictates, you could get more than that. You could get a +2 or a +3. You just have to take a look and see what you get. I think like Wellington and Napoleon get extra bonuses, but yeah, just look at the scenarios, or if you and your friends agree, or if you're doing a point buy, I think you can buy those points. All right, now there's something called personal quality of commanders. Now this is a random roll. You roll a d6 and you get low, medium, or high. Low is a 1 and a high is a 6. Everything else is medium. And there's 3 stats. You have aggressiveness, or they call it aggression, decisiveness, and independence. And those will modify or give him special characteristics that you can use in the battle. Now this is like an optional thing. You can just make all your generals have basic general abilities and give them the +1s and the 8 staff rating or whatever, and just drive on with a hard on. This is to add a little flavor to the game. Also, if you are playing a scenario and they say, hey, this guy's got an aggressiveness of high, then you know what to look for. But here's a little chart right here. You can take a look, and I'm just going to hit on a couple of them. Like aggression. High aggression is courageous and nervous of steel, heedless of dangers to himself and others, believes battles are won at the tip of his bayonet. Well, that doesn't really tell you anything, right? I mean, it does. It gives you his flavor text. The commander adds +1 to his staff rating. See, so you're rolling, and maybe it gets better. If you had low aggression, it still adds 1 to his staff rating, but only when giving orders to retreat from the enemy. And the high aggression is +1 to staff rating when given a charge. Okay, you got decisiveness. If it's high, he can re-roll a failed check. But if he fails the re-roll, then it becomes a blunder. So it's like you have an increased chance of blunder, but you also have an increased chance of succeeding. Low decisiveness, like he's hesitant. If the commander successfully gives an order with the result of 3 moves, then he must roll again. So basically, they try to prevent him from taking 3 moves. High independence. If he's the first commander to get orders, he gets +1 to staff rating. But he blunders on 11 and 12, because I guess he's just too eager. Now, low independence means I guess he's relying on people's orders. If the commander issues orders before the army general, then he does so with a -1 to his staff rating. So yeah, so you can modify your generals to give them a little flavor. You can, if you read some history books and you see that a general is indecisive, or if you think he was very aggressive, you can just plug in these numbers into your scenarios. It has a little bit more variation and enjoyment. Alright guys, that was a recap of the commanders specifically, and some special rules that you can use with your commanders, giving them special abilities or tweaking them to make them more personalized. So I appreciate you coming out and checking out this tutorial, and the next video should be unit special abilities.